This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. I'll start off by giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to God, Loyam La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rachakadas Wakatham. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders, a great millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim, across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so. Now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwat and the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. It's the brother Yahweh South out of the GMS Cleveland Church, a fellow servant, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh Shemi Shai. And basically, this lesson is regards to this article I got off of my Newsbreak app, and it goes into I started with that scripture because the times you're coming into the way the world has always been, even Yahweh Shah made mention, I think before he was crucified, as far as with the lady that I think that was Mary Magdalene that washed his feet in her hair, and Judas basically made mention of the cost of the oil, and he said basically, that how you the rich and you have the poor forever. You always have the poor, but you won't always have you outshot. So it's always been the rich and the poor. That's why it was certain laws set up in the scriptures. For instance, with just showing you how Most High set it up that when, like, for instance, if you owned a field, you weren't to reap all the you want to reap all your produce, or reap all whatever you were growing off of your out of the field. You were supposed to leave a certain amount for the poor and for the stranger or whatnot, because Most High takes care of everybody. That's why it talks about the birds are even fed. So how much more so those that are doing this work. So in the times that are coming, you shouldn't really. I mean, if you got true faith, that's why you got certain brothers that's like welcoming it, because you got to understand. It ain't like we like Jacob's trouble for a reason. We all gonna catch tribulation. So, but you got certain brothers that's in the spirit of, you know, they don't, they love their lives. They love not their lives unto death. But just showing you, like, I was listening to Brother Ayash from Mississippi, and he was going into how terrible this rulership is, and just like how vexing, and that's why a lot of brothers, the brother whose channel is Bukora Math, I think it was in Sirach chapter 30, he was talking about how death is better than a bitter life, roughly paraphrased. And this life is bitter to those that are in the truth, because when you know how the world's supposed to operate, and if you really truly are trying to walk in the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashmi Shai, which is righteousness, and this place is set up in wickedness, you're vexed. It tells you in the scriptures that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked in the book of Job, chapter 9. And when you understand that the international bankers, those that control the monetary policies of this world, are in control, I mean, so saying all that to say this. Saying all that to say this, Salakia. Saying all that to say this article, because it's just showing you, like, and it's gonna get worse, especially when they switch over to this new system. And the system is already being set up. That's why you're hearing more and more about this NWO, to the point where you just heard Jeezy Beezy, Creepy Joe, make mention of it. And it was so spiritual because that happened right after the Passover. So I'll bring out a little of this article. It made me think of a few scriptures that Lord willingly is edified. It says General Mills lifts sales and profit forecasts on higher prices demand. So it's dated March 23rd, and this is out of Reuters. And I hear that Reuters or Reuters is a NWO. Basically, they this is a publication or a media outlet of the elite. It says Cheerios, owned by General Mills, is seen in a store in Manhattan, New York, U.S., November 11, 2020. Slock it, November 11, 2021. says by, well, it doesn't matter who. Deborah Mary Sophia, because that's a spirit, Sophia, by Mer Bindi and Deborah Mary Sophia. Reuters. General Mills Incorporated raised its full year um, core sales and profit forecast on Wednesday, encouraged by higher prices and strong demand for the Cheerios, Maker cereal, snack bars, and pet food, sending its shares up as much as 6%. Now, mind you, this is in the time of inflation where the cost of goods is going to actually be more expensive. And who is that going to affect more so? The poor. And it tells you in the scriptures who the poor and the needy are. It tells you, is you Israelites. I believe in the book of Isaiah chapter 10. So, but they're looking at making a profit, a bigger profit than they've already made. And then that's showing you how goofy Americans is because I was just listening to a video the Apostle Tahar did about famine coming, or it was roughly I know it was from a day ago. It was like a 10-minute video, and you had these Edomites, and they were speaking on he was saying like with the times coming, the type of food you shouldn't be wasting your money on bullshit like that. Like although cereals, grains, I mean it's not healthy grains. Like brother brought out, like some of that cereal is made out of some bullshit. I've got to imagine Cheerios, but you'll probably do better with a generic cereal like some corn flakes or something, but not no Frosted Flakes. But what I was gonna say is saying like rice and beans and things like that. Something that's actually that's full of protein and has carbohydrates. As opposed, but a lot of people, because these Americans are so dumbed down, they don't know how to, it's deep because the elder apostle Tahar always makes mention of that quote about how good times make weak men and hard times make strong men. And you've had hard times, like because my father was raised during the Depression. He was born in '36, so they grew up pretty poor, and it makes sense now why certain decisions he made, which affected me later. Why his mindset was the way it was. I'm saying that to say this. Some of our people are in love with mammon. Um, Nonetheless, a lot of our people, when you go into the scriptures, how our people was worshiping and sacrificing to mammon. Um, well, Molech. Mammon is money. But when I did my research, they say because you got to understand some stuff be misdirection too. But Molech was like a god that basically was a god of like if you sacrifice to it, it was like a god of wealth, and that's what you get like this Baphomet and all that other stuff. It's nothing new under the sun, but it says consumers sticking to pandemic-driven habits of cooking more at home has boosted sales at packaged food makers who are also benefiting from price hikes, with General Mills joining Piers, Kraft, Heinz, and Kellogg and reporting a better-than-expected quarterly profit. So these bullshit-ass companies like Kraft, Heinz, and Kellogg's are making, because of usually businesses they go by the quarters. So like the first 15 like the first quarter of the year, then the last quarter of the year. Margins, however, remain pressurized across the food industry as pandemic-induced supply chain shortfalls have led to soaring freight and labor expenses, adding on to spiraling costs of packaging materials and ingredients. And again, it just show you like I read an article maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago. It was talking about how although prices are soaring on certain brands and goods, people are still paying for it. You know, so what it's going to take for certain? Because I'm looking at cereal like I don't eat cereal like that. I haven't for years. And I think cereal is like $5 a box. So yeah. Says General Mills has cautioned in February that supply issues in categories including refrigerated dough, pizza, and hot snacks in North America would affect shipments in the third quarter, but measures such as securing alternate supply sources help the company exceed its expectations for organic sales growth up 4%. The company's forecast, I'm going to skip a little bit. Well, our actions drove a sharper rebound than we expected at the end of the third quarter, and we're seeing that improvement continue into the fourth quarter. Chief Executive Officer, so the CEO, Jeff Harmening, said the company's forecast raised surprised analysts. It's not every day in that general predictable industry that results come in ahead of late quarter, which is February pre-announcement. J.P. Morgan's Ken Goldman said the maker of Betty Crocker's cake mixes expects organic net sales to rise by about 5% in fiscal 2022, compared with its prior estimates of 4% to 5% increase. It forecasts adjusted per share profit between flat and an increase of 2%, compared with its earlier range of a 2% decline to a 1% rise. And I just saying all that to say this, like the whole point of it is these motherfuckers literally, like at a time where you would think people would be spending less, and you know, literally people were spending more, where the company's going to make an actual a bigger profit. It's just showing you how goofy these Americans are, and showing you how like they don't know how bad it's going to really be. How really these people are about to really catch hell. You know, like you say, that's just how dumbed down Americans are. When you look at the sales of Uber, like I'm sure a lot of more people are eating at home. It's not a coincidence that a lot more people are showing their pantries, how they got food stocked, and you got these celebrities showing their bunkers and going to buy bunkers and whatnot. But none of that shit is gonna save you. Not the food, not the bunkers, not your gold and silver. The scriptures talk about all three of them. Not like money's a defense, but protection come from Yahweh Shem Yahshua. Because you can have all three of those things and still, succumb to something. You know what I mean? Like I said, you can have a bunker with food in it, weapons, money, and all that, and then, on your way to the bunker, get killed. So, everything is the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But saying all that to say this, that's why the scriptures talk about not to love money. This is the book of 1 Timothy. It's like it, that ain't what I wanted. 1 Timothy chapter 6. It says 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 5. I'm going to start at verse 5. 1 Timothy 6 and 5. Perverse disputings of men of corrupt minds, because men of corrupt minds trust in Esau, Edom, and their riches. And it makes me think of the account, I think it's in Luke, where it talks about the rich man that tore down his barn storehouses to build bigger, not realizing that the Most High required it so. So you got people trusting in what they think is going to happen, or themselves, or what they have, their possessions, not understanding that it tells you in scriptures is the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of man. It tells you in the scriptures that the Most High, all things bend to the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. It says, and destitute of the truth, supposing that gain is godliness, and that's the spirit. From such withdraw thyself, because at the end of the day, it talks about in the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 that the just shall live by faith. We're not really, there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of extra. I got a family, so I got to make sure my children are fed. But at the same time, what happens when, I can't afford the food? I got to have more than just, what I mean? Like, I can't even get cardo like a nigga, go door to door taking, you know what I mean? But I believe that the Lord is going to provide for his own. The Lord might put a spirit on you to go to a certain area, and you might just stumble across some food, like the movie The Road. Verse 6, but godliness with contentment is great gain. It talks about being satisfied with your daily bread. It talks about, scriptures talk about a number of things, trust in the Most High with all thy heart and all thy soul, and lean not on thy own understanding. A foolish person, that's a carnal person, would look at us like we're fools because we're not putting stock in, because it's pointless. You know what I mean? Like, if the Lord's not with you, you could stack up as much as you want. You know what I mean? That movie The Road shows you that. Like, say somebody had a bunker. It wasn't nobody in that bunker, so the Lord made sure that person, whoever that was, didn't make it back to that bunker. It says, verse 7, for we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. Verse 8, and having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. Because most men that have money seek only to have more money. You got like a person like Floyd Mayweather. I hear about the NFTs. These the digital shit he getting into. And I don't know if it's a scam or not. I'm just saying, like, you watch Floyd Mayweather retire like 6 times, always to come back, because he's unfulfilled. He has all the money. He's undefeated. So he feel he can't be touched. So what else can he do with his life? All the training and all that, as good as a trainer he may be, or no matter what he focuses on, he'll never be completely satisfied because he'll never, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't even understand that, and that's terrible. That's a curse. That's a hell of a judgment because he can't even realize that he's seeking what will give him fulfillment is a spiritual seeking the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahshua. Especially with being that he an Israelite, he got everything but his power. Now, I mean, the Lord could wake him up, but will the Lord wake him up with his pride? I doubt it. Verse 10, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some covet after they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. So at the end of the day, it tells you in the book of, matter of fact, I'm going to get it right here. Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, because it says, no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve Yahweh and Mammon. When you go into Mammon, it's money, but like I said again, I did a search years ago, and it was talking about it was like a Babylonian deity, which probably throwing you off some kind of way, because like I said, when you go into Molech, which was the god of basically the Ammonites and whatnot, but I'm sure other individuals and other nations worship them, because you got Esau worshiping all these other gods, different nations. You know, that's why it's so important to be, you can't love the truth but love the world too. It talks about thy eye being single, so your eye got to be single on this truth. You know, James. At the end of the day, these rich people, it tells you about that in the book of Revelations. You got these rich men that's gonna come on Revelation chapter 18, how the merchants gonna cry because they're not gonna be able to make any more money off of them. James chapter 5, verse 1, go to now ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, meaning this money. And you see it now. That's why it's being devalued. Like the brother Ayas brought out a beautiful point. All that stimulus money, which we didn't get anything, like as opposed to some of these fucking corporations, like a guy like Trump that had multiple businesses. He benefited from that shit. The same legislation and that's the whole purpose of why they say that a president shouldn't be a businessman, or because certain like what's the word, things that would benefit themselves. What he did, that stimulus package benefited him and his friends. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days. When in actuality, trying to hold on to these treasures for the last day is going to be to your detriment and destruction. That's to Esau, and as well as 2/3 Jake. That's what scriptures talk about. Storing up thy treasures in heaven, and that's why we do this work in the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Because at the end of the day, we see the day approaching, and we understand that without our power, no carnal means is going to protect us. That's why the book of Psalms chapter 91 talks about he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High, which is the truth. Matthew chapter 6, I'm starting verse 21. Verse 19. Salakia. Matthew 6 and 19. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust does corrupt. And that's the spirit, because I just read in James about how your gold and silver is cankered. It's corrupted. It's rusted. Like I said, when you look at this money system, like I said, they printed all that money to devalue the dollar. That's why inflation kicked in the way it did. And like I say, the spirit, this is so spiritual, because what is happening and taking place, I read somewhere. I don't know where I read it at. I used to read a lot of different stuff. It used to be, what they would deem a person that was following so-called conspiracies. But it's funny, like the elders and certain brothers been making mention of, well, the theorists, because since we're labeled C theorists, we up what 15 to 0. You know what I mean? Like, we ain't been wrong. But like this, because this plan has been outlined for centuries. When you go into Francis Bacon and the New Republic and all, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, like, you got to remember this: America was set up from the get go to be that land that brought the whole world into, this, the new Atlantis. But lay up for your Salaki, I'm gonna read it again. Matthew 6:19. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth where moth and rust doth corrupt and where thieves break through and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt and where thieves do not break through nor steal. Because at the end of the day, this thing does come with a reward. When you go into the book of, I think it's Matthew chapter 19, when the disciples asked, or I think it was Peter asked, we've given up all these different things, what shall we be our reward? And basically Yahweh said you shall receive like 100-fold. I forgot exactly what he said, but he said you're gonna receive riches. I mean, riches beyond your imagination. Like the brother Bukhara Moff just did a beautiful lesson. He was saying, when you take time to think about it, no matter, even if you had to be a martyr for this truth, it's all perspective. And I've been listening to some Stoic quotes lately, and everything is perspective. Like they say, a glass, a person could look at a glass half full, and some people could look at a glass half empty. A proud person will be like, oh, it's half empty. But a humble person will be grateful to have a glass half full, So, and the thing is with it talks about your works. So your works that's stored up in heaven cannot be stolen from you. These physical, like your physical food, your physical silver or gold, or what you have physically on this plane. I mean, it's gonna get to a point where people are gonna be going house to house. It tells you that in the book of Second Ezra. But with the work, with your faith, your belief, your works, because by your faith, you're gonna do your works. You're gonna do work. That's you show your faith by your works. So, that's all stored up, and no man can actually take that away from you, because, Yahweh, it tells you that the Most High Yahweh is always watching. His eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. So, it talks about how the angels are constantly watching. The angels are the eyes of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. It says, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So, and then it goes into the light of the body's the eye, meaning your eye being single. So if your treasure is in this truth, then you're going to be focused and single-mindedly on it. It's like Mayweather with boxing. He's single-eyed towards boxing. Like Lil Wayne is single-eyed to his rap music. A nigga is single-eyed to being a nigga. And a man in his truth, a hopeful elect man of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, is single-eyed to, doing the will and the work of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So if you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, or you will be destroyed. And with that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to called Loyam, like Yahweh Shem Yahushua, Hashem, double honors to the apostles and to the elders, great millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwath and the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord, willingly this was edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Till next time I'm able to come with another lesson. Shalom, shalom. Mawaf labubal, shalom.